How I wish we were recording so people know what you just did.
What? I didn't do nothing. Anything she says from this point on is a lie, folks.
Yeah, perfectly started the recording with no issues.
Yeah. First try, we hit the record button like we always do to record the episode, and then we started talking in that order.
Yeah. He didn't stare at me and go, yeah, start the episode without hitting record first.
What's wrong with you? Start the fucking episode.
We'll just start with that. Anyway, friends, we are about to post our 100th episode. Yay! We're going to do a Q&A for that instead of a regular champion. So if you have any questions for us, email us at leagueofloreheads@gmail.com, or you can at us on Twitter, or message us on Twitter, or on the Discord. You can tag one of us in the Discord for questions, something like that. Those will be the 3 best ways.
We have a special thread set up just for questions, too, so you can drop them in there.
That, too. If I were listening to this and someone said that, I'd be like, I have no idea what the hell that means on Discord, so it's okay if you also don't know what that means. And you just want to at John immediately in the general chat. That's fine, too. But we need those by the 9th, November 9th. So if you're listening to this, scurry on out and
scurry. Well, not immediately. Listen to the rest of the episode first,
Well,
and then scurry.
I don't know. This one might be bad. We haven't
delete
recorded
it.
It
Don't
won't
listen
be.
to it.
I'm pretty confident.
Turn it off.
Hello, Loreheads, and welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John.
My name is Mark.
Today we're talking about The Fire Below the Mountain, Ornn, who was released August 23rd, 2017. I almost, by the way, when I was doing my introduction, I almost said my name is Ornn, because I was preparing. My name is Ornn.
I did not read this, apparently. I did not realize that his title was The Fire Below the Mountain. I always assumed that it was The Living Forge. Did it used to be The Living Forge? Why did I think that?
Did I write this wrong? Hang on, let's see.
No, I think you're right. That might be his passive, is maybe what you're thinking of.
Ooh, that sounds like his passive.
The thing is, they're both really good subtitles. Like, I don't remember who other ones were that had really shitty subtitles, but Ornn's like, he can't hold all these great titles. He's got so many.
How do I hold all these titles?
Big arms,
right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is pretty good. It's very long, but it's really good, and it paints such a They both paint a really good picture of Ornn, I think.
Yeah, I think Fire Below the Mountain's probably better. It lines up with the way he is depicted in lore, in that there's always legends and stories around him. And B, I mean, he's kind of a living forge, but I think when you say that, in my mind, I think of him like having like an actual like forge in his gut, almost like Scion, like that. Items would come like bleh, out of his belly button.
That's true. Yeah. Is that not what Ornn does? He doesn't just vomit up like your upgraded BF sword or whatever it fucking does.
Hey, Ornn, I need that upgraded Infinity Edge. He's like, okay.
Does he make the cat noise sound? He immediately finds out like the one piece of carpet in your house, and
so you run over to pick him up. Like, no.
No. We have like just the tiniest amount of rug in our house, and that's where the cat vomits. Specifically, and our cats don't even throw up that much because they're young, but Nico sometimes will because he has such long hair. And when I put the rug in the baby's room, he's thrown up like 3 times already. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
He was holding it in these past few years.
I know.
Just for this.
And I think in total he's thrown up like 5 times since we've had him, and 3 of them have been on the baby's rug in the last,
which is
4
very
months.
Long. Like it's like
a shaggy rug.
Oh man, you ever step on it like you don't like look down?
not recently, but I've always grown up with cats, so I've absolutely felt that cold squish between my toes as I'm so sorry, everyone listening. That was horrible. Anyway, Ornn.
What's Ornn sound like?
I don't know, and you wouldn't let me listen to his quotes because John apparently has some kind of fun game, and he's like, "Don't look up any Ornn quotes." So
I do have a fun game.
Okay.
Did you ever watch anyone play Hades?
No.
Oh, okay. So you don't know what the titular Hades sounds like?
No.
Does Hades sound like Ornn? I haven't played it.
He does.
Oh,
really?
yeah?
That's
Yeah.
weird.
I hope
He sounds
your game
exactly like Ornn.
Is Ornn or Hades? Because I don't know Hades. You said it was.
I would not
It's not,
expect
no.
that. Because Hades looks like a relatively lithe kind of character. Maybe, no. I'm thinking of who am I thinking of? Who's the main?
You're
character
thinking of the
in
main
Hades?
character.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Hades
Well, he's not
is
just called
you know,
Hades Man.
right?
That's Hades. He's not Hades Jr. or anything?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Hades is just just jacked ass dude with a massive. He looks kind of like Ornn, honestly, but without the fur.
I mean,
Got the full beard and shit.
Did you see if it was the same voice actor?
I didn't.
I didn't look up.
I would. I don't think it's. It doesn't sound like exactly the same, but very similar. So I'd be surprised if it was the same voice actor, but it's a very like deep voice. So I mean, who knows? Might be.
Good question.
All right. I'll just do what I think Ornn would sound like based on a quote that John has written down.
Okay, go for it.
I have fur. It is soft. Do not hug me.
That's good. That's
Was
good.
it?
Pretty good.
Thanks.
Okay. I gotta get into the Ornn voice. He's very rumbly in his chest. He's like,
Oh, okay.
"It is childish to favor one tool over another, but hammer is my favorite."
If you want a weapon, here's a weapon. If you want conversation, here's a weapon.
I almost did that one. That was pretty
That's
fun.
Oh, what a snuggle bug.
Do not hug.
Oh, I'm saying you're right. He did say he's not okay with hugs. How about a fist bump?
He'd probably be cool with that.
Oh, yeah.
He has very fiery fists.
On the Riot Universe page, he has a bio and 2 short stories.
Yeah, and he doesn't have a lot elsewhere because,
That's
he doesn't
it.
really have old lore.
No old lore, very
yeah.
few AUs, just the bio.
And
two
he
short
really
stories.
hasn't gone through any bio rewrites either, surprisingly, despite the fact that he maybe should have after the Volibear rework.
I mean,
Oh.
it's vague enough. I guess I'm not super familiar with the new Volley lore. I assume it's vague enough that it probably still works. But I guess
With a
we'll
few
see.
tweaks for sure. I feel like they're just a few contradictions, but
Okay.
other than that,
Interesting.
Well, we'll get to that when we get to V. All right, so should I do his bio?
go for it by
Oh, sure.
Matthew Dunn.
Matthew Dunn. All right. Ornn was a normal myth boy in the Freljord. Not really, actually. His bio has a pretty classic opening of no one really remembering Ornn, but maybe he made Brahm's shield. Like, that's what the opening of the bio is like. I have very few notes on the bio because honestly, it could be summarized like pretty simply. Basically, there are tribes who, began with the Hearthblood, so they're the ones who kind of remember Ornn and who he was. They were blacksmiths, architects, and brewmasters. They hung around Ornn and made things, and I guess he grunted at them like Geralt, which is kind of the vibe I got. One day, Ornn fought with his brother Volibear, and they ended up destroying the Hearthblood home, whatever. He became deeply ashamed and ran away to hide forever. But he's now noticing his siblings are taking shape again, and so big things are coming. And that's kind of all they really say about Ornn in his bio.
Yeah.
He's like a god, right? Kind of.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
he's kind of like a demigod.
A
He was
demigod
like
with Anivia's his sister?
yeah, and Volibear's the
Volibear's
brother.
his
He's the
brother.
oldest of the 3 siblings.
Right.
Maybe 4 siblings. I don't know. I don't know if the
think there's
fucking
a-
Iron Boar technically counts. We never find out anything about the Iron Boar. They just reference it all the fucking time.
They also reference the Seal Sister, and that's not even
yeah.
her original name. That's been lost. So there might be a
Is there
few
a
more.
seal somewhere? Or-
There's a seal sister. It's in one of the legends when he
Yeah.
cuts the trench into the ocean. He gets the permission of the seal sisters.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we learn a bit about Ornn here. He's very old. He enjoys his building, and his followers like him a whole lot, and he likes his followers, even though we won't tell him that. He would never admit to it.
He's so withholding.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like that Michael Scott quote, like, I would never tell her this, but she's a wonderful worker, and I really
she's a wonderful person, the Manny Mars. Why wouldn't you say that to her face?
Well, I guess from the stories we'll see why Ornn is so tight-lipped. I don't know, and he's very introverted almost. I'd say.
Yeah. So a few things about the bio that I liked. They all right, so one thing you mentioned, that his followers are blacksmiths, architects, and brewmasters, and like the blacksmiths and the architects totally get. I see exactly how Ornn's patronage would totally fit in there, but like what type of crazy fucking contraptions are these brewmasters coming up with that they're like, yeah, I need this builder god to follow?
It's a good question. I mean, it does seem like maybe he just also like beer is just one of the things he really likes, and so they're just like anyone who's into things that Ornn likes. They make things that are like, hey, look at this. But, I don't know.
Like, I like anvils, hammers, and beers.
I mean, I think he has
modern
quotes that are
man.
almost exactly like that. Like he's got one quote that's like, humans have done some good things. Beer, dark beer. That's it.
I like the idea he doesn't need to eat or drink, but he just guzzle in beer all the time.
That's how he do.
Yeah.
I do like that they also explicitly call out that some even claim that Brahm's shield was made by Ornn thousands of years ago. Like, yeah, we put that together.
Yeah, we got it.
We read the context clues. We didn't need that one spelled out.
There's
us.
a big ram on it.
They
We figured that one out.
Yeah. I think,
and there was. Oh, let's go ahead.
Oh, I mean, one thing I like about some of this maybe is that a lot of it gets followed up in the stories we get. You know, like I think they were smart to leave the bio kind of short and a little underwritten because they knew that we're going to fill this all out with a lot more in the stories. If it was just this would be another frustrating, like mythical league champ.
No, but it makes sense. One, that he's mythical. He's literally a demigod. It makes sense. He's not, just a dude. We're annoyed by those mythical backgrounds with people who are just walking around alive and normal,
right?
Like everyday people. Like that's annoying, but it makes sense for him. Makes sense for like a Moo. There's some champions I think it's good with, but his stories are really vivid and good, and they really expand on Ornn. I think everything's kind of really well done here. That the bio gives you a drawing, and then the stories color it in for you, kind of.
Yeah, very apt.
And then sometimes they color outside the lines
A little bit. And then they redid Volibear, and there's like a weird something in the corner now, and they're like, that doesn't fit anymore. But
there's no eraser on this pencil.
there's no eraser.
Damn crayons.
We're really sticking with this metaphor. They used crayons.
They need so much whiteout in the Riot narrative department right now.
My Crayola box doesn't have that color.
I like this. So there's one point right when Ornn and Volibear are battling where it says like, in one catastrophic night, all the Hearthblood had accomplished was destroyed when Ornn battled with his brother Volibear at the mountain's peak for reasons no mortal could comprehend. Which I feel like maybe when they wrote that, they had, I don't know whether they had bigger plans for what the reasoning was going to be for them to fight, but I feel like if you told a mortal, Volibear is going to start a huge war that Ornn doesn't support, they might be able to comprehend that. It's not as deep as I think you're making it out to be.
It is true. It's a good question. I think I'm almost a little more forgiving with this one because when we get the explanation of that, it's coming from a narrator who's almost a little unreliable, and it's like a story that's been like generations away from what actually happened. And even in that story, I guess we'll talk about it, but another character kind of calls out like, it seems like these tales have been changed a little or tweaked a bit to fit what's happening now, if that makes sense. So,
Did you catch who called them out?
I think so. I guess that's something we'll also talk about. That's a little trivia bit, I suppose.
I think so, at least. I mean, it
makes
sense.
Yeah.
He shows up in all the other stories. Why not this one?
Yeah, it would be fun.
Confused.
Well, we will. There's a little trivia thing that will come up as we get through the stories, listener.
Is it LeBlanc?
It is not LeBlanc. I mean, it might be LeBlanc.
Everyone's
we don't
LeBlanc.
know for sure.
You can't prove it's not LeBlanc, so.
That's true.
I like the idea any mystery in League. You can't prove it's not her. So.
One last thing about the bio before we move on, too. There's a quote that said, "Racked with guilt, he retreated to the isolation of his foundry and buried himself in his work for an age." Like, one age? I don't think I've ever heard this term used that way as like a singular. Like, oh, he retreated for ages. I've never been like, oh yeah, he hung out for one age.
I like it though. I'm gonna start using that in my common vernacular. I was like, oh, I was over there for an age, and then we left. We were partying for an age. I kind of like it.
I love it.
It makes you sound like
people off.
Yeah, it makes you sound like you've got more, like you know more, or like you got more going on.
You've been alive for an age.
Yeah.
So wise.
Yeah.
All right. The first story is The Voice from the Hearth, also from Matthew Dunn. I also read this one out loud to our daughter today.
Ooh.
To get her to sleep.
Did it work?
It did, yeah. It usually does if I start reading or something.
Yeah, don't take it as a judgment, Matthew Dunn. It's not your writing that put her to sleep.
She's 3 months old.
She just drools a lot and then falls asleep, and that's kind of her life.
Yeah.
Yeah, frankly, this is the most action-filled piece.
It is, yeah.
Did you want to do it? Or I can?
I can't. I know the second story is really, really long. So I can do this one. I don't technically have notes for it, but I think I kind of remember the gist.
Yeah.
There's a group of people, a tribe of people. Do we know what they were named again?
I don't think so. I don't think they ever say even.
We know who their war mother was.
Oh, that's right.
But I don't think they were named.
Probably allies of the Avarosans.
Olgavana. Yeah, I don't think they were quite Avarosans, but because they mentioned that they're not quite as noble as the Avarosans was kind of it. But yeah, it's this tribe that's led by Olgavana was her name. That's their war mother, and they seem to be on the run from everyone. They're running from the Winter's Claw and the Ursai, right? Is that how you say that?
The Ursine.
Ursine.
They say Ursine, but I like Ursai better.
I kind of like Ursine better too.
Call them.
Maybe that's why it is Ursine.
Ursine seems like it should be singular, right? With the Ursai being like...
Oh yeah, like there's an Ursine in the Ursai.
I saw Ursine.
Yeah.
Sounds like this next parody. Anyway, they're also running from the Ursine. Those are Volibear's people. They're like half bear monsters. They're kind of knowing that they're going to face the Ursine first and that they're going to die immediately, and that they would rather face Sejuani's people. No, not Sejuani's people. The Winter's Claw are... Is that Sejuani? No.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Sejuani's people. They're like, at least we won't die as fast against her. But they see a fire far away, so they end up heading in that direction. And Ornn comes out of the work. Very descriptive. If you really want to know what Ornn is like in the world, lots of lava. It melts everything around him. It singes all their clothes. It's like an unbearable heat to be around Ornn.
And this is kind of I think also why I was thinking like the living forge made sense, because kind of the description given here, like not even necessarily that there's a forge in his chest, but he is just literally just like his body's a forge when he wants it to be.
Yeah.
He is lava until he's not.
Yeah. He kind of comes out of a forge almost, right? Like
yeah. And then he's like, I imagine standing near him is like standing in a forge is kind of what it got to. It's not like a nice pleasant sauna. It's like an extreme intense heat that's painful. Yeah, they kind of all bow down to him, I guess, and they lay their weapons at his feet, and the true ice weapons melt.
Yeah.
Which is a first.
Which they had never seen before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ornn sees that Volibear's people are coming, so he runs out, kind of single-handedly takes all the Ursine out until Volibear arrives. They have an epic battle, and, that ends. And then the next morning, the people who all kind of watched that happen, the Ursine have been turned to stone, which was very cool. They were so heated that they turned to stone. Their clothes are all singed now. There's ash everywhere, and the Winter's Claw are coming. So they kind of grab their shitty, rusty weapons because they're not true ice anymore, and they cover themselves in ash, and they turn around to fight a battle that's going to be very quick, as they, I assume, lose very, very fast.
if the continuation of this story is to be believed.
It's a good question because, like, at the end, there's some notable changes, partially in that it almost seems like they have become Hearthblood, right? And where the Hearthblood were people that are not they're like we've run into people like this before. I don't remember what they were called, who aren't really affected by the cold, so they can walk around naked, essentially.
The Iceborn weren't as affected by the cold.
Yeah. Hearthblood seemed like even better. Oh my God, Hearthblood are better Iceborn, and that they, like, at the end of it, like you said, their clothes are singed off, and they don't feel the cold at all. But I guess, in my mind, it seemed like Ornn's presence even, and I wondered that this was almost like a reference to his passive, sort of, is that he kind of inspires and, like, improves, like, he lights a fire within people around him, right? So, like, before the fight, they're talking about, we're taking our plows and we're forging them into weapons, and we're taking our whatever it is, like our knitting knives, and turning them into weapons, and the expectation, like, we're gonna fucking die, but we want to die on our feet. But at the end of it, everyone is, like, super fucking jacked up. Like, they're all naked, and they're smearing, like, the sign of the ram in ash on their chest, and there's, like, no trepidation. And, who knows? Like, morale is a massive thing when it comes to fighting sometimes. Who knows?
Yeah. I kind of got the impression that it was still warm because Ornn's presence just left a lingering heat. But I do like the idea better that they're warmed up inside. He's like a cup of hot cocoa.
Yeah.
Well, because one of the people in this war party is Legless Kriek from the Dead of Night story with Sejuani and Olaf that we went over the other week. And we know he survives and is still warm to this day. The only one in Sejuani's retinue that is warm for no reason.
I completely forgot that was him in Dead of Night. Yeah. So I guess they did lose that fight, because otherwise they would not be he would not be with the Winter's Claw.
Is he a prisoner with them, or is he just with them now?
So here's an interesting thing. I took a snippet of that story as a reminder of how Kriek ended up in that party. His name was Kriek, and he'd once been the seer of Ulgavana's tribe, farmers and builders who'd refused the call of Sejuani's banner.
Fuck.
So she had sent Urkat's Warclaw to wipe them out and take their herds, their furs, their iron, and their salt. The survivors fled up the slopes of a mountain whose summit seethed with a red rock that flows. When Urkoth returned, it was with Kriek on his back, and he'd seemed confused when Sejuani demanded to know why he'd brought them a useless mouth to feed. Urkath claimed the Ursine had driven them from the mountain, speaking of blade-pierced titans draped in bloodied fur and horns, gaping skulls, and fists that hurled fire. And in reference to why he took Kriek, he said, "The mountain told him to."
Weird. That's really...
Okay.
So am I understanding correctly then that the Winter's Claw did not even actually, like, make contact, or like they must have to get him, but it seems like, did you say correctly that they were turned away, like, by the
From
Ursine?
the sounds of it, the Ursine,
like, survivors
must have sent more people or something, or had survivors. The Winter's Claw caught up. They must have either attacked there or, like, got there after the Ursine attacked. Either way, everyone else seemed to be dead except for Kriek, who, when they say the mountain told them to, I also assumed that was probably Ornn. It was like, yo, bring this dude back. He's cool.
I'm curious if there's just a conflict here. Like,
There is, because they don't talk about any soup. Where's the soup, Riot?
Because this is I had soup for lunch. It's in anticipation of Ornn. Yeah, I don't know, because this is a newer story, newer than Ornn's bio, and I am just curious if it's just an accident. There's just a.
But that's like a hell of a thing to like include in reference, right? Like
it's just it's wild to me that like why are there more Ursine? Did they come back? Because it seems like the Winter's Claw arrived and the Ursine were all gone. So I think there's just
the other possibility here is that they did win the fight against the Winter's Claw here, and then just decided to kind of chill here for a bit. Now that they're Hearthblood, they're like, all right, we'll chill here on this mountain. And the Ursine sent more people to attack, later at some later point to give Ornn enough time to share his soup, obviously.
Sure.
And then at that point, Sejuani had also sent more people.
This is just all speculative. Like, this is such a reach.
Yeah.
I think it's more realistic that this is probably that conflict that's referenced, and like there are just tiny pieces that don't necessarily fit because they were written in different times.
Yeah, I think it's just God. What is the word I'm looking for when you
continuity error?
Yes, it was just like a continuity problem. Is all.
It's weird. It's interesting to me, like that you would make such a specific reference and like not nail the continuity. I would have to I need to really read the passage from that Sejuani story, because like when you're reading it to me, the way I heard it was almost as if there were survivors of the Ursine who they ran into and so caused them to turn away. But I could not tell you if they even did that, why they would have this legless guy with them, unless maybe he was like Ornn threw him like halfway across the fucking mountain. I don't know. That's still super fucking interesting either way, though. I will say.
Maybe a storm came and swept him up and brought him to Demacia.
Get fucked, old Olaf.
You never know.
Well, they did describe the Ursine, so I don't think it's necessarily that like they had run into survivors that the Ursine had like the Ursine had killed all but a few, and then they ran into those few.
I mean Ursine survivors, as if these were people like Ursine like warriors fleeing from what the devastation. Yeah. And who even were warning the Winter's Claw, don't fucking go there. I don't know. Like I said, I would have to read it. That's still super cool though.
Yeah, it was a neat connection there. And I will say, I'm gonna run back something I said at I think it was the Braum episode.
Oh shit!
Or maybe the Anivia episode. I forget which episode, but I specifically remember that during the next story that we're going to be covering, when they talk about the whole troll tricking Ornn with the ale drinking competition because there was true ice that just continually melted forever and ever. And I was like, I made a point then that like one of true ice's whole thing is that it doesn't melt. So how is it just melting here? But if this other true ice also melted in Ornn's presence, maybe that's just an Ornn thing. Maybe it's just something Ornn does when he gets near true ice, which I didn't know at the time, and now I do. So I rescind my criticism of that thing.
Yeah, no.
Sorry, Rito.
I remember this. It was the Anivia episode, I'm pretty sure, because it's something like is directly said in Anivia's like bio, because I think that's all she has, which is kind of a shame. And I remember, we had that exact conflict, and I think I opposed some sort of argument that like, oh, it's different stories, and it's like it's not literal. But I think it's even cooler that Ornn does just melt true ice, because it is super cool that what's her name, Ogvana, lays the weapon down before him and the shit just melts. And it's like, holy fuck. Like, we've never seen anything like that. It's pretty cool. It's a really cool thing for him to just do, because he's so fucking hot, you know?
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, he is.
We're both horny for Ornn. Orny.
I really like this story, I will say too.
Yeah,
me too.
It's really good. It's like the perfect length. Sometimes stories are just way too long or too short to really do much. And this is, this was great. And it's really good to read to a 3-month-old.
High praise. I think we have had problems before of people of someone's color story not being through their perspective, like someone else telling their perspective of the color story. It totally works here. I feel like it's way cooler to get like a normal person's perspective of a literal god fighting another literal god.
Yeah.
Like that's a way cooler visual than like if we got it through like Ornn's eyes.
I think being outside of Ornn's head is also beneficial in a way. Ornn is kind of supposed to be a little bit mysterious. Ornn, it's respect for Ornn. He's very introverted. He doesn't want us in his head, and we should respect that. I'll say I'm generally not a fan of stories about gods or demigods or fights between indestructible people. That's why I don't really get into like Superman a lot of the times. But I did still find this interesting. It made the fight not quite as interesting. Once Volibear got in the mix, I was like, okay, well, they're just going to slam into each other or whatever demigods do. But before then, it was cool. And they described Ornn's ult. He ulted in it.
He did ult.
He did
his little pillar pop out of the ground.
Yeah.
He did his bellows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he did all of his abilities even. Because I think he even slams into them all.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah,
and he even seems to have more. He seems to care more about the destruction that happens around him than a lot of those, superhero movies where it's just too.
To be fair, there's no like skyscrapers here. It's the Freljord.
But there are people.
Yeah,
people. Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree with what you said, John. I think Amumu's short like color story was also a good example of that, where like that's a good way to kind of get into these types of characters. I think also it's fine to stay out of Ornn's head because like you get what he's about and you get enough insight to know where he's at. Like I think it's a nice detail to have him feel that like an actual guilt like about kind of what happened way back when. It kind of plays out again here. I get that like when him and Volibear fight, we don't really think that either of them is going to walk away hurt or harmed, but there's still like stakes around these people that Ornn is trying to protect, and I think in the just the quality of the writing, like the scene is, it reminds me a bit of like that Master Yi story where it's like, man, there's just like this massively wild shit happening, and it's genuinely cool to read, like where the ash and like smoke from Ornn is like clashing with like this thunderstorm of Volibear and like lightning striking into the ash. I thought it was pretty fucking cool. I would love to see something like this depicted. And then there's like tons of little details throughout it that I love. I love that when they are so they're prepping for the Ursuline to show up, and they talk about how like they're going to give the gift of the lamb to our elderly and our wounded, and the rest of us will dance with the wolf. And I was like, I know what that means. That's a really subtle way to describe a very dark thing that you're about to fucking do.
The gift of the lamb.
I'm glad we did kindred first. That's a good line. The gift of the lamb.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very.
When
very
you
good.
like understand kindred's lore.
Yeah. Or I like Ornn, like you said, that whole scene where Ornn is like coming out of this forge, this melting is just it's a great description of him. I like that there's like lava that's flowing out and it just forms into his beard, and that's what it is.
Yeah, like twisted. You can really see the cinematic. I did enjoy it, and I like the idea. I mean, people in the Freljord have likely been here their whole lives. They've never felt true warmth, and like I think they even like exclaim at some point like, I never thought I'd see this, like, oh my god, like they're all like amazed by this lava and this heat and the melting snow melted, like it's just not something that they've ever witnessed before.
I think I can remember
it's an interesting place for him to be.
Definitely. I think there's a line where it's like, I think this is it, where he's talking about like, it's describing him and he's like gets super hot and then he just gets hotter, and it's just like it's like it impresses upon you like, no, it is so unbearably hot just even looking at him or being around him. I just really enjoyed like the writing throughout it. Like you said at the start, it's super descriptive, but a better word for that,
Vivid, visual.
Vivid, that's it. Yeah.
Vivid. Yeah, it is really vivid.
Visceral.
It is. It's almost like when you stand a little too close to the bonfire and you're like, oh no. I assume that's what
a tame. It's like when you stand a little too close to the bonfire and you're like, oh no, they're talking about their clothes being burnt off.
Yeah. You never gotten close to the bonfire and you're like, oh no, my clothes, my flesh. That's our real version of it.
Yeah, that's
honey.
as close as we'll get.
That's
Hopefully.
I know. That's hopefully. I don't want to meet Ornn. Anyway.
Yeah.
On
Props
to the
all
next
around.
story.
Yeah, that's a great story. You killed it, Dunn.
Yeah, I guess Matthew Dunn did all of Ornn's stuff, huh?
Mm-hmm.
It seems like it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Well done.
Oh.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I think he did Kindred, and that's why he's got that great Kindred line. He remembered his own work.
Good catch.
I mean, you still got to give him credit because we see a lot of people who don't remember their own work.
I want to fucking tell you.
That's me. I took a few months off of a novel I'm writing, and I'm like, what the fuck is this thing about?
Who are these fucking people?
Who are these fucking people?
Yeah, I remember we talked about this briefly with Anivia. It's nice to get into it wholly because it's not about Anivia, it's about Ornn. And it's called The Lost Tales of Ornn by Matt Dunn, obviously. And the context for it is that it is a storyteller who is telling stories about Ornn to a bunch of children, around a campfire at night in the Freljord. And so she is just kind of going through and telling them different tales. And the first one is about, it's almost like a creation myth for the Freljord. Talks about how I think Ornn just wanted to fight, and he was looking and the trees were too weak. They kept snapping, and he was trying to find something to fight, and he punched a mountain, and the mountain did not yield. And so Ornn was like, yeah, that's good. And so he just fought the land for a bit, and through fighting, created the Freljord as we know it. And I think afterwards he congratulated the land on a good fight, and the land in turn opened up its heart to him, and that's how he has access to the fire that's at the core of the earth, right?
Now let's not mince words on how he created this land. Very specifically, he headbutted mountains from the plains and pounded down deep valleys.
Ornn would never fuck
Ornn would never fuck the valleys.
He would never fuck the valleys.
After that line, John wrote, tee-hee.
You gotta stop giving away my note.
I love it.
Well, stop writing dumb shit in them, John.
Do you understand the next reference in my notes?
Let me see. For fire is the true...
Nope, above that.
Oh, above that. Big Buster, Little Valley energy. Big Buster, Little Valley.
Are you...
No.
Are you...
I don't get it.
Are you saying like... No, I have an idea that's too crude.
So, I don't know how many of y'all know this, but when I worked at Disney, part of my job, because, we worked on their online MMOs, and a lot of them, since they were for kids, you couldn't pick your own name because they were afraid of people picking inappropriate names that kids would see. So instead, they had name pickers, where you'd have like 4 columns, you'd choose a word from each column to build a name, and it was all supposed to be all kid-friendly stuff. Part of our job was to go through that name picker and think of the most inappropriate names that we could build out of these kid-friendly terms.
John, what was your Toontown name again?
My Toontown name was Fat Droopy Purple Noodle. And my Pixie Hollow name was Buster Little Valley.
Oh, okay. I was reading it as Big Buster. Like that was the word. And then I was thinking of... I thought it was an Arrested Development.
I was thinking you might, yeah.
Buster Little Valley. Okay, I still wouldn't have remembered your Pixie Hollow name from several years before I met you.
That's the
so
weird
about
one.
like 13 years ago. Your Pixie Hollow name. I'm so sorry I don't remember that about you, hon.
My coworker's Pixie Hollow name was Elk Hawk Breath. Which, when put together...
No, we get it. Anyway, tell us more tales from the Ornn, Mark.
Oh, yes. This is the one I read to my baby, by the way. But I had to stop by, like, story 4 because my voice was giving out.
Yeah.
During this whole thing, there are little interims in between each story where she is like, the children are like, oh, tell us more. And she's like, okay, blah, blah, blah. She goes on. The second one is about how snow came into the Freljord. And it used to be that there was no snow in the Freljord. It was just a cold, dry, shitty place. But Ornn made himself a big-ass fucking house. But he unfortunately made it with trees made from Anivia's favorite perching trees. And so she's like, I'm going to show him. So she goes to his house.
I thought you were gonna say shit, like she's a bird, so she was gonna go shit on his house or something.
That'd be a good revenge too.
Yeah, right? What do you think Anivia's... well, that's a trivia.
Mark, I was about to ask the same fucking question. What do you think, like, Anivia shits out on people's heads?
Well, I was going to say, like,
Ice?
we have this whole story about how, like, Snow came to be, but it's all bullshit. Snow is literally just Anivia shitting. That's what they won't tell you. They're too afraid to tell you.
So Anivia's just flying over
all the time.
All day. She's as gassy as our baby. Just constant farts leaking out of Anivia. We're never going to get through Tales of
It's fine. It's a really long story. It is essentially 5 short stories in one thing. What happened? Oh yeah, so she goes to his house, she tickles him with her feathers, and he sneezes, and because he's Ornn, he's got fire in his belly. So he just sets his whole fucking house on fire. And Anivia, I don't know if she was like trying to put it out, or I think she's just trying to get away. She just starts flapping away, and of course it just makes things worse, and the whole house goes up in a blaze.
Womp womp.
Yeah. And so I'm trying to remember, like, that's the only thing I don't have. My notes are pretty loose on this. I know that he digs a trench. Okay. So here's the thing, right here. The whole twist of this one is that he had made his house, right, and was like, this is good. And then the house burned down, and what he took from it was that, I complimented my work, and this is what happened. I'm never going to do that shit again. I'm just going to let the work speak for itself. So he decides he's going to make a new home, and the one thing he wants from it is that it should not be flammable. So he decides to go live in the mountain, and he digs a trench. The Steel Sister helps fill it, and specifically help cool all of the fire that's at the heart of the mountain with the water from the sea. And the sea itself descends a few inches from all of the fire in there. And all the ash from that goes up in the sky. All the steam, rather, goes up in the sky, and that's just fills the sky with clouds. It's another, like, kind of creation myth. And those clouds burst into snow, and there's so much water that's why there's still snow in the Freljord. So that's the second one.
Now, let's not mince words here about his home. He called his home the Majestic Horn Hall. Because you need a good horn haul if you're going to be pounding those deep valleys.
Is this going to happen for every
what
story?
I like about these, I know, these stories really do feel like stories you tell a kid. Mm-hmm. Like an old folklore that like the fire in Anivia. She tried to fly away, but her wings made wind, and it made the fire worse.
There's big little sister energy too, with her like. She vowed never to tell Ornn why his house burnt down.
I think they say
as a little sister, I would have done that shit.
But you're right though, Rebecca, because there's even parts when, like, obviously I'm summarizing this shit, but during the storytelling, our storyteller will kind of tell it like you would tell a story, and be like, I think there's a one later on where they're talking about a gross troll, and she'll be like, his nose was like bulbous and blah. Just like shit that you like, where you expect the kids to all kind of react. It really reads that way, and I really liked reading this. That's why I was telling it to a baby, because it's like, I can mimic this storyteller.
Yeah.
One thing about this, though, is that when he did decide to build his house in the mountain, I mean, one of the big reasons that he had to dig the trench to bring the water in was because it was too hot. And let me remind you, this bitch is lava. This bitch is lava.
Yeah, they do say it was too hot even for Ornn, which is a good, like, I guess that was really thugging hot. I don't know.
How hot is it?
I got nothing.
So hot.
What's the deal?
He's going to pound that.
Jesus Christ.
I know, we got to get... He's so orny.
Randy. Story number 3.
So Randy. No, okay.
Right, there hasn't been a single Ram joke in all this, John. I'm honestly, I'm a little disappointed now.
Because that's low hanging fruit.
Go ahead.
Yeah. It's too.
But pounding.
That's too crude.
Yeah, I would never. This is a child-friendly podcast.
Yeah, third story. The third story is essentially kind of telling the tale of the 3 sisters, and they kind of come to him asking for help. And the first sister, who I think is supposed to be Cyrilda, the one with war and like conquest in her heart, is like, hey, there's a bunch of enemies. There are evil creatures that stalk us, and we want to destroy them. But Ornn does not help. Ornn is like, that sounds like a problem that is not mine, and just kind of in so few words tells her to fuck off.
What a mood,
right? The second sister, who I think is supposed to be Avarosa, shows up, and she's got hope and, like, I don't know, optimism in her heart. And she's like, okay, well, our enemies are, like, watching us and shit, so can you dig a big trench, and we'll put them in there. We will deal with our own problem. And Ornn agrees, but mostly because he was going to dig a big trench anyway, and the spot that they want it seems like a good enough spot, so he does it. He digs the big trench, and horrible howls come up from it. I wonder where this might be. And then the third sister, like years later, the third sister comes to him for help, and it talks about how, across time, war with their enemies has clearly affected them. And the third sister says, I want you to build a bridge because the trench you dug was so big that we cannot build a bridge across it. And Ornn's a little suspicious because she has the stink of magic on her, and magic makes good things weak. But he's willing, and he builds the bridge. And then the second sister, Avarosa, feels a little bad about the third sister's lie, because they don't just want the bridge. What they want is the third sister, Lysandra, to go through and cast all sorts of weird incantations on it to bind their enemies down in the Howling Abyss. And Ornn was absolutely correct. All of that magic did fuck up the bridge, and it will eventually crumble. But it will happen across a really long time scale. So nobody really seems to notice. That's almost literally what they say in the story. It'll just happen across a long time. And yeah, I think this is also where, doesn't he throw his tools? Like, he throws his trowel like to the west, and he throws his eating fork to the east. And he doesn't throw his hammer because he loves it too much.
So John, okay, so in the middle of your notes, I haven't read the context yet, but it just popped out to me. The words 300 hot dogs.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So let me.
And I don't understand. Is this where this is coming from?
Yeah. I was about to get. Okay. So so the quote for the record for this is Ornn, meanwhile, realized he did not like people asking him favors, and threw his spade as far to the west as he could. Where it landed, no one knows, and its fate is lost to darkness. Then he turned east and threw his favorite eating fork as far as he could. It landed in the Great Sea. So, like, yeah, the spade, I guess. Somebody literally just asked him to dig a trench. You don't want to do favors for someone? Yeah, throw away the spade. But who the fuck was asking Ornn favors that required his eating fork? Was he like, yo, Ornn, can you eat 300 fucking hot dogs for my YouTube channel? Thanks.
I would watch that. He would cook them so fast.
Right? They're like raw as they go in,
so
and they cook as they get into his mouth. Yeah.
Oh my
shit.
God. It
like
cooks
that.
on the
Cooking
way.
and digesting simultaneously.
I love like a story now where children are all making s'mores just around Ornn.
Oh, that would be pretty cool.
S'morn.
Yeah, that should be his next Snowdown skin. Oh my God.
Oh.
Riot, you're fucking welcome. S'morn.
That's literally the best
S'more.
skin we've
S'morn.
ever come up with right now.
I think this is a pretty good one.
This is a good one.
Really
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Oh my God.
This
that's
year, I
really
think it's
good.
too late for this year. They probably already did them, but next year.
Next year, Riot, please.
I really
Fucking
want to
please.
You
s'mores.
showed up at Worlds so much. It's perfect. Another interesting fact about this is that fork is now held by the head of the Marai as their trident.
Yeah. It says the
What?
Mer King found it.
Oh my God. That's so cool.
It is cool, actually.
I like the idea that someone's just holding someone's fork.
Right.
Like he used to. What did he eat with that? Ornn only eats soup. What was he using a fork for? Maybe
He's
that's
really
why he only
bad
eats
at
soup
it.
now.
I mean,
His fork is gone. He's bad at soup. I was thinking,
tracks.
but like he's like, I lost my fork. I guess it's
No, I
soup
have to
now.
do soup.
I have to eat soup.
I think it's in this story, too, that they mentioned that... Is it almost like... They come to him, the sisters come to him with star metal? Is that kind of the big deal? Is it...
yes.
Yeah. Which I don't know what exactly that's in reference to.
It seems like it's from sort of some comet or some shit, probably from some shit that Aurelian soul hurled into the earth. But he builds that's what his hammer is built out of.
Yeah.
Now. And it builds perfect things. which is why the Howling Abyss, if not tainted with magic, would have stood forever.
It also built me.
Oh.
Yes, it did.
Thanks, Ed.
I like a quote here, too, that said, if you had heard the abyss howl, you would have thought it wise that no one climbed down to measure its depth. But luckily, there will be a staircase here soon that people will ignore in favor of climbing the wall.
Hey. They don't ignore it. Lysandra just keeps that little dirty secret to herself.
Oh, man.
This is my staircase.
But yes, that hammer building perfect things is an important thing to note for the next story. Take it away.
Oh, sure, yeah. This one's so I think they go on and they want one more story for the night, and the storyteller only agrees to tell it if all the children agreed to not be fussy, like my baby currently is being, and to sleep and to do their chores without complaining the next day. And she tells it, and it's about the troll in the ram door, and it's essentially about how a troll named Grubgrack, who's the ugliest troll, and you can always tell that the uglier a troll is, the more clever and lucky and whatever they are, more cunning they are. Grubgrack the Hideous. He goes to Ornn and says, hey, I need a door to keep thieves away from my gold, and Ornn is not interested. But the troll kind of like finagles his way in and is like, yeah, okay, we'll do a drinking contest, and if I win, you make me that door, and if you win, I'll give you 10 barrels of troll mead. It's a family recipe. But Grubgrack tricks Ornn by putting some true ice in the cask. So when they're drinking, even though Ornn has never lost a drinking contest, finds that he just cannot finish this cask because the true ice is melting continuously and refilling the cask. So
this makes so much more fucking sense now.
yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
But Ornn is as good as his word. He makes the door, and Grubgrack is like, haha, got my shit. Also, I need to go count my fucking gold. So he goes to go count his gold and finds he cannot get into the door. It is too strong to break open. His breath, he tries to like destroy it with his nasty ass troll breath, and it doesn't do anything to it. And he can't even get the hinges off the mountain itself. And so he goes back to Ornn and says, what the fuck? And Ornn's like, well, I was true to my word. I made you a door that would keep thieves out, and time is more valuable than gold, and you stole my fucking time. So essentially, you're a thief, and you're not getting in, son. It will last longer than the mountain that it's attached to, essentially.
Ornn, you are immortal. To value your time that highly. A little stingy. Those 30 minutes are so important to me.
Maybe they drink.
Did you see that intricate ram work?
Yeah. Maybe they drank for, like, I think it's
on that
making
door?
the door. Like,
Took forever.
Is more of a big pain in the
okay.
ass.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Mark. You keep trying to say something. And
It doesn't matter. I mean, I don't know. It don't matter.
it does matter. I'll cut everything. Go ahead and say it.
I don't even know what the fuck I was going to say at this point.
Maybe the drink.
No. I was going to say maybe they were drinking for, like, 7 days and 7 nights. That's a very classic, like, storytelling line to have.
That's true.
But I don't think so. I think, like John said, he just really worked his ass off on that door.
All right, few things I love about this story. Number one. Oh. When the troll came, it said, to Ornn, it said, Ornn dismissed his guest, but Grubgrack stuck out his foot to stop the door from closing. Ornn did not want the troll's bunion-covered toes ruining the paint, so he let the creature go in. Now, I was already imagining Ornn as like an Animal Crossing player with all his building and terraforming that's happening here. But like the fact that he let this fucking random ass troll into the house of a demigod just because he didn't want to ruin his paint job, fucking love that for him.
Ornn would have loved Animal Crossing.
Oh my god, that'd be great. He's all hunched over a little like switch or whatever.
Oh my god. It's melting as he's trying to turn.
He just throws it to the side. There's just a pile of them. He just picks up another one. Oh man. I do not like this Tom Nook. Like I'm loving it. But it says that even that troll tries to strip the paint off the door with his breath. So it's like a genuine concern.
So there's another part of this story that I thought was particularly interesting. It said, Grubgrack replied, and his smile warped one of the hearth home's pillars.
Yeah.
Now, is Grubgrack the most powerful mage in the world, because we just talked about how anything he made with that hammer would last forever. And this bish smiles at it and warps it.
I mean, that's troll magic, man. It may be genuine troll magic. Is like, because that's something they say is like the uglier, more fucked up they are, like maybe they genuinely are more powerful. I almost kind of like that. Like the ugliest fucking troll in the world has the most magic.
So I must be very powerful.
Honey.
You're like waffling between like
right?
I know, right? I was like,
and troll.
I'm perfection. Ornn created me with his hammer. Also, I'm busted as hell.
Yeah, this one's a lot.
How fucking stoked do you think Rubrak was when Braum took the door off that mountain?
I don't know.
Is he still alive?
Yeah, that's like the thing. That's the real question. Is like, how did that troll boy get in the first place in the Braum story? And how did Braum...
Yeah.
Well, Braum punched through the mountain, which is like, okay, that makes sense. But how'd that troll get in?
Yeah, obvious. That makes sense.
That I accept. But how did the troll boy get in there?
I'll accept, you know what, I will accept that Braum could not destroy the door, but could destroy the mountain. But how did that troll boy get in there? Maybe that was the real treasure after all, and Ornn's like a massive dick. Like there's a little troll boy in there.
Oh my god!
It was his son.
It was his son. Yeah, I was just gonna say that was his treasure. His gold was his little boy
with his golden troll
and he wanted
hair.
to protect his boy.
Well, I'm glad he survived at least.
Yeah, me too. He just ate the gold that was there.
Oh man!
Oh, there was also gold. I see.
Yeah.
Oh shit! So those are the 4 stories. All the other children go to sleep, but there is one last child who stays awake who seems to not be into it and talks about how like those stories aren't real, and it is specifically a legless boy, one who they had picked up and who our storyteller even specifically could not leave behind because they're, you know, the Freljord is shitty, but they are not, you know, they're not the Winter's Claw. So they, and the legless boy is kind of saying it seems like these stories are made up or have been changed to help us go to sleep. And the storyteller was kind of saying, okay, I have one more story about Ornn. And I think you've seen enough shit to tell it to you. And so she starts telling him about it. It's like she says like one that she wasn't even told until she says blossomed into womanhood. I guess just the point being that you kind of have to, this isn't a story for kids necessarily. She starts telling it to him. And it's essentially about the Hearth Blood that we kind of heard. It's kind of from the bio. Where, you know, there's a tribe of followers that start following Ornn, and even though he's outwardly gruff and ornery, and doesn't really give them compliments, on the inside he is kind of proud of them and admires all the work they do for mortals, right? But this gives us insight into, Volibear showing up with his Ursine, and what he wants is he wants weapons and armor for a war that he's going to do, and Ornn tells him no, in just one word.
No. He gets a newspaper, he smacks him on the nose.
You fucking stop. But Volibear is kind of a little more cunning. He knows his brother, and he kind of can. He is like, well, I'm just going to take what I want anyway. But more importantly, he can kind of see that Ornn cares for the Hearth Blood, and so he kind of baits Ornn into a fight. And this is exactly what Volibear wants. And so they fight for like 8 days, I think it says. And at the end of it all, the Hearth Blood are toast. They're fleshed. They're dead.
They become Smorn.
Ornn mourns them, and
how many more? I just want to. I wasn't going to say this, but I think I'll regret it. Earlier, I said poor Ornn, and I was trying to think of a way to combine those words, but it's just porn. And I'm glad I got that off my chest because I've just been thinking about it the whole time.
I'm glad you were able to unburden yourself.
Thanks.
Well, John has not helped.
Borden.
Well, this talk of pounding valleys.
I know. He's a dirty boy.
I'm just reading from the text.
Honey.
The fact that y'all can't read between the lines a little bit.
But yeah. Ornn goes silent. He, I guess a little detail at the end is that, like, the storyteller says every now and then smoke comes up from it, and people say that it's Ornn working in his forge, which is kind of leads us back into that first story that we went over, because legless, crazy, whatever his name was, Creek, kind of pushed them all to go because he saw that smoke, and so like we can kind of assume, yeah. Oh,
interesting.
And the very last bit, the kind of, because again, in between stories, we see kind of what's actually going on with the storyteller, and we see that she herself is a Hearthblood. She is standing on the snow and feels no cold beneath her bare feet. Yeah. So there's some truth to what she's saying, or something like that. She's got a little bit more of an insight than your average storyteller, maybe.
Mm-hmm. I love snow, and I love this idea that if I could just find Ornn, I could just hang out in the snow forever and never be cold.
You would hate that so much because you'd be so hot all the time.
But maybe I wouldn't be bothered by the heat anymore. See, I hate being hot because it makes me angry. Maybe it would be different if I was a Hearthblood.
The grass is always deader on the other side.
The grass is always singed on the other side. All right. Well, that's canon Ornn.
Yeah, and he's mentioned a few other places that he's not starring in. So we mentioned Dead of Winter by Graham McNeil, where old Ornn's soup pot is mentioned, brought to you by Creek, the true hero of all of Ornn's stories.
Yeah.
He's also in A Good Day by Anthony Reynolds Lene. This one is starring Vrynna, a Scarmother of the Winter's Claw, and a Legends of Runeterra card. Oh. One of her hunting party, Shiverbones, consults totems of all three gods.
Shiverbones.
Yep.
Sorry, that sounds like the name of a skeleton on Halloween.
A pirate skeleton, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Shiver me bones. But yeah, so they are doing divination with totems of the old gods, and this includes the Seal Sister and the Two-Headed Raven. And we've got Silence of the Damned by Odin Austin Schaefer.
Is this a sequel to Silence of the Lambs?
Yes, it is.
Cool.
Fucking sweet.
This is a Sedge, Udyr, and Volley story where Udyr transforms into the spirit of the ram to fight one of the Ursine, because the Ursine are sworn enemies of the ram. Then we've got Eye of the Abyss by Anthony Reynolds Lene, which is the story of Lyssandra's followers climbing down the Howling Abyss to check the True Ice prison and getting attacked by void creatures. It's just kind of mentioned, like, oh, Ornn built this.
Sounds just like that.
And then we've got The Relentless Storm, which is the Volley bio, also by Anthony Reynolds Lene and Rayla Hyde, which is kind of the same story as Ornn's, but from Volley's point of view. And we find out that he specifically, the reason he requested the weapons was because he wanted to fight the three sisters. It also says he was wearing armor that Ornn made specifically for him, as they were very close, which is not the read I got on the relationship from Ornn's story. But
maybe they were one day.
But then after the fight with Ornn, he discarded the armor, which is also different than the story where Volley just shows up, sees the armor on Ornn's wall, and is like, mine, mine, mine. I think this was like a symbolic thing because
middle child behavior for me.
Right. Like Volibear historically before his rework was the armored bear. He wore armor. That was kind of his big thing. That was the whole reason they wanted like a I forget what's his name from Golden Compass, like a Yorick from Golden Compass armored bear. So I think this was like a metaphorical him shedding the armor of his old lore, and they wanted to fit that in there somewhere.
Interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, I think there's even a line in this thing about how, I don't know, it like you said, it reads like as though they've never spoken before, almost, for being brothers.
Before.
It says they very rarely, it was like, oh, this was a visit from Volley, which was very uncommon.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, don't get me wrong, I like the metaphorical thing you're going with, but yeah.
Yeah, no old lore on this one, like we mentioned. And then there's a few cinematics.
Yeah.
The Call. We'll start actually with the Path to Hearthhome, which was the Ornn Champion teaser, which we talked about in the Nunu episode, which is the story of Ornn, sung by Nunu's mother, Leica.
Yeah, it's almost like I don't know if it's like the story of him so much as it's just like it reads as though another little story, little tale of like, here's how to find Ornn currently, right? Like it's almost literally the path to Hearthhome, right?
And there is an interesting tidbit about this story because it's sung in essentially like ancient Freljordian. which it resembles a lot of kind of the Celtic languages, but it is essentially like a made-up language that they're singing it in, which meant that when it came to localization, they actually localized it in different languages, and it translates differently in every language.
No
so every
shit.
language it translates into tells a slightly different story.
That's fucking cool. I did kind of get I got the like ancient Freljordian thing because when you listen to it, like these are the lyrics that are also his theme, and you read along with the story. Every now and then there'll be a word that sounds really similar. Like say the word is like snow, the lyric will sound kind of like the word snow, though not one to one. And then the rest of it's kind of gibberish. And then Ornn is always Ornn, right? And there's other pieces of music, like if you ever played like the Nier games, all of the music for that is lyricked. And I know with that they did a very similar thing where they're like, we're making up languages for these lyrics, but they have meaning to them, so that when the singer's singing it, they know what they're singing. But you know what I love even better is that this is almost like what's going on in the lore being pulled into the real world, and then you've got these different little stories that are slightly different between the different cultures, and it's like, oh, that's fucking cool. I like that.
This is a very interesting idea. I love that they did that.
Yeah.
Dope.
And we've got the Call, which is the 2022 cinematic where we see Ornn getting ready to fucking rumble, making weapons and shit.
Yeah.
Then we've got A New Journey, which was inspired by the true story of Michelle, a university student and League of Legends player who joined a team and joined the fight. Season 2019 of League of Legends starts now. It's on.
Neat.
It's like an
Fuck
anime
yeah.
opening.
Oh, okay.
And then he shows up in the Galaxies and the Rise of the Elements trailers for TFT seasons. This was before they were making like really cool cinematics, so this is just kind of like using a lot of in-game graphics and stuff, but he shows up there. And we got a few quotes. Quick quotes from Ornn.
Is your game or are these separate?
This is before game, but the
Okay.
game is on its way.
Okay.
One of his quotes, I taught Doran everything he knows.
Oh, yeah.
Our boy Ornn apparently taught Doran how to forge. Was he a Hearthblood? Who knows?
That's
Maybe.
a good question.
He also
John.
he has a quote that's like anvil time, which was like, you know, a clear kind of you can't touch this reference, which I find extra funny because he's also carrying around a hammer at all times.
I guess maybe like they associate the hammer with Jace more, but
I like it.
And that is his dance too. I think Jace's dance is
Yeah.
the
It is.
MC hammer.
I like it almost as like a weird anti-joke. Where it's like, it's so
Right.
stupid that you kind of like
true.
it.
Like Ornn, like vaguely knows about the song Hammer Time, but he confused it a little. It's like your parent trying to make like a reference to something.
And then he has a quote, I broke my beard, which is a Simpsons reference.
Oh, I would not have gotten that.
No, I don't
Mark's
remember
thinking
it.
hard.
I like The Simpsons
was,
a lot, but
It was, do you remember Jasper? It's one of Grandpa's friends.
oh yeah.
Grandpa gets in a car accident and Jasper comes out. It's like, I broke my beard.
I think he's got another Jasper quote where he's like, doesn't he say like he doesn't say that's a paddling. He says like that's a clobbering or something like that.
It's clobbering time.
Ornn's a huge Simpsons head. Just
What a
real
simp.
nut. All right, that was pretty good. It's your first good joke tonight. Oh, that was
Holy
so mean.
I
shit.
have had back to back fucking bangers. How dare you?
All right, moving on.
All right, are you guys ready for this game?
Yes.
John has not stopped talking about it, so I have to answer first because we assume, Mark, that you have read Ornn's quotes and I have
A
not.
little bit more, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So this is a little game I like to call Ron Swanson or Ornn.
Ooh, shit! I can't believe I didn't think about that. John was trying to give me hints. Is like this is a character, like this is something you know, this is something you're familiar with, and I was trying to think of who could Ornn sound like. Ron Swanson's perfect.
All right, now don't look at the screen.
Okay, I'll look over here.
All right. There are 12 quotes here,
Okay,
and I really had to narrow that down
Oh, it's gonna be so hard.
You remind me of a young me who's less impressive.
I'm gonna say Ornn.
I want to say Ron Swanson. We'll keep it. I feel like that was my gut.
This one is Ornn.
Fuck me. Okay, well, I quit.
Whatever you want, the answer is go away.
I'm gonna say Ornn again.
I feel like Ron Swanson.
That is Ornn again.
Wow, I am off. I have no fucking idea who anybody is.
The last time I ate a plant was never.
Ron Swanson.
This one I know is Ornn.
That is a third Ornn.
Okay.
The less I know about other people's affairs, the happier I am.
Are these all Ornn? I'll say Ron again, though.
This one I'm going to go Ron again.
That one is Ron.
Okay.
Okay.
I now like you less. I did not think that was possible.
Oh, Ron.
This one I also think is Ornn. I think I know this one.
That one is Ornn.
Nice.
Don't start chasing applause and acclaim. That way lies madness.
Ron.
I'm going to go Ron, too.
That one is Ron.
Okay.
Okay.
Whatever this drink is made of, it is working.
Ron.
I'm going to say Ron.
That's Ornn, baby.
Damn
Ah,
it.
shit.
I think he has a very close quote in this the snake. Oh God, what do you call it? Snake juice, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
If any of you need anything at all, too bad.
I'm gonna go Ron again. I know I said Ron for the last.
Yeah,
few.
I like Ron for that one, too.
That one is Ron.
Okay.
I don't know what you do, and I don't care.
Ornn.
I like Ornn for that.
That one is Ornn. I've seen sturdier sandcastles.
Ron, I think.
I feel like Ron because he doesn't have any like beach skins, as I'm aware.
That one is Ornn.
Fuck me. Shit.
I'd wish you the best of luck, but I believe luck is a concept created by the weak to explain their failures.
So Ron definitely has a quote about luck, so I'm just gonna throw that out there. I don't know if that's the exact one or not, though. So I'll say Ron.
I think it's Ron because I think Ornn has a quote that is also really similarly about luck, about how it's like failure or something like that. But I think it's Ron.
That one is Ron.
Okay.
And final one. One rage every 3 months is permitted, but try not to hurt anyone who doesn't deserve it.
Ornn.
I'm gonna go Ron.
That one is Ron Swanson.
3 months is weird. I should have said Ornn for that one. Or Ron for that one.
Now,
That's
there,
fun. That's
there
delightful.
were so many good quotes here. So, like, Ornn has a few more that just have such Ron energy. I do not need company, only a wall to keep out company. Backbreaking labor is life's greatest pleasure. The architecture here is not wholly terrible. Something you should know about me is
He's a little introvert.
the work is the reward, and build it again correctly.
Oh, that's such a Ron Swanson quote.
And then Ron has the following quotes. Literally everything is a weapon. I would rather bleed out than sit here and talk about my feelings. Put some alcohol in your mouth to block the words from coming out. When I eat, it is the food that is scared.
That
and
I
if
would
it
remember.
doesn't have meat, it is a snack.
Man, I wonder if that was a genuine inspiration.
I desperately would like an Ornn Swanson.
Right? It's the same
fan art
three
right
fucking
now.
letters. It just just rearranged.
Yeah.
Please, someone draw Ornn Swanson. I would just
Ornn?
be so excited.
Ornn Swanson and fucking S'morns. Like,
and S'morns.
S'morn, yeah.
we're doing the Lord's
S'morns.
work today.
That was good, hun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really good.
that's canon Ornn.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really good pickup. And yeah, I liked Ornn.
Yeah, I like him
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I normally don't like, I feel like, because I didn't like Anivia. Her lore was boring as hell, but I guess Anivia's lore was just, you know, Ornn's.
If they do, I know, we just read Ornn's stuff. If they did a Nivea like Ornn, could you imagine just the opposite? Like where she is, everything is frigid and cold and true ice is formed. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And then Volabear's there. I don't know.
I assume
And
Volabear.
Nivea and Ornn seem like good opposites to each other. Maybe that's why Volabear's so mad. He's like, where do I fit in here?
Right.
Actually, it does say that he's mad in his, or I think it was in this one that we find out that he's just mad about how much Ornn's followers like him.
Yeah,
they're like,
that is
wait,
true.
he doesn't even have to like threaten them or anything. They just like they just chill with him because they like him. Fuck that! I'm gonna trick him into killing all of them.
He's mad
Oh my
jelly.
god.
I know it's kind of dark. Kind of like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
All
think
right.
I feel like Ornn will be the best like example of one of these like mythical, legendary
Yeah.
stories about them champions. We'll see. I could be wrong, but I think so.
Yeah, it's probably a safe bet. Mm-hmm. It was well done. Mm-hmm. That one was unintentional. Matt Dunn.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my god!
I was still thinking
I was
about
like, does
Ron
Ornn
Swanson.
cooks shit or like what?
Also works.
All right. So he has 2 AUs.
He's only got 2 AUs. He's got Eclipse and Elderwood first.
So no Star Guardian.
No Star Guardian
Pentakill.
yet. Long
He's about to have
ago.
a Space Groove skin though.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
We'll have to do a revisit episode. Long ago, an order of monastic knights slew the vile gods of the old world using esoteric powers granted by the moon and sun. Now the world has grown dark and violent as those selfsame deities prepare their return, challenged only by the light of the eclipse. This one's Elderwood Ornn. A truly ancient shaper of the Elderwood and keeper of divine knowledge. Beings who tended the trees and directed the rivers are rare in this time of fell magic and endless twilight, yet Ornn continues on, stubbornly clinging to what remains of the old way. And then he's part of Thunderlord, set in a divine setting, where each of the champions are godly Thunderlords. And this one is Thunderlord Ornn. In an age before man, King Ornn ruled the craggy Southlands, and he was as rocky and lifeless as they were. It is said that he weathered an endless siege from his brother, the great King Voli, and that the blood they spilled sprouted grass and trees and animals, even as they became like beasts themselves.
This is weird. This is almost just like the normal Ornn
Right.
setup, except he's also
Classic
thundery.
AU.
Yeah.
But thunder.
Did you see the Space Groove Ornn, by the way, Splash?
Didn't. Oh my
fuck,
god,
I haven't
it's
seen it.
adorable.
It looks like he's made of gummy bears.
He looks like a rabbit. He looks like Ornn if you played any of the Mario Rabbit games.
but less gross.
It makes me think of like Ivern almost. I don't know. At least in the splash a little.
Ivorn.
That's their ship name. They love each other from afar because he would set Ivern on fire.
I love that dare not speak its name. Yeah.
And we've got a few fun facts. I'll lay them down.
Lay him on me.
Number 1, Ornn is voiced by Matthew Watterson. 2, Ornn was in development as early as 2013, and some of the earliest concepts by Joshua Huge and Fast Brian Smith portrayed him as a duo champion, a lava hog, a lava giant, and a lava frog.
Interesting.
Huh. Okay.
And if I remember correctly, I don't know if you were still on the team at this point, but I'm pretty sure that Ornn was one of the champion pitches by Greg from the tech team.
Really, I don't know if I certainly don't remember that. I probably
Greg Lavasic, if you're listening, hit us up if Ornn was your champion, because I feel like I remember that it was, but let me know. And Ornn prototypes, he originally had an ultimate that spawned a volcano, which erupted boulders that he could charge into, causing them to explode.
damn.
And he had another ability that upgraded his hammer into a different weapon for a set number of auto attacks, so he could either make it an extra hammer for AoE, refine it into a blade for piercing damage, or make it into an axe for CC when he auto-attacked.
Interesting.
Ornn had a scrapped quest called Weapons of Legend that required the team to take 5 objectives, either dragons or barons, in order to unlock the masterwork items. And he had quotes pertaining to the completion of this quest that were unused when he was released, and they didn't use it. Ornn is the physical form of the Great Spirit of the Ram. As such, walkers like Udir can harness a bit of this primal spirit magic and turn into the Ram.
Yeah, I'll be curious when we get to the new Udir, because I saw they had Ornn shit on him and Anivia stuff on him, which I thought was very smart. I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah.
Because they already had like the Phoenix, but it was a fire, and they had like the bear already.
Yeah.
And they had something that could have very easily been Ram. It just wasn't.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
now they really play with the old gods, which was good.
That'll be fun.
So Ornn is one of the spirit gods. So spirit gods are more like manifestations of cultural ideas, given immense power by the belief of their followers, and can wax and wane depending or disappear for a long, long time. Which is interesting because it's kind of, at least from the bio, implied that he was around from like before people knew about him. So I mean, who knows if that's canon or not.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what the source on that is. You could always pull some bullshit where like, once he was incepted as an idea, like because he's a weird kind of demigod, history itself rewrote, and he did actually create the Freljord because people believed it. But this seems like we're getting really off base. I don't know.
Let's see. Ornn has been inactive for approximately 8,000 years.
Jesus Christ.
Get him fixed, right?
Until now.
I think I say he's like across multiple worlds or some shit because he had a bunch of bugs or something.
Wouldn't be surprised. Ornn's dance references Attila's dance during the song I've Got a Dream from Tangled.
Oh my god.
Oh. Huh.
In universe, Ornn names hammer after the verb, whereas in real world, the vice versa happened. Hammers didn't have a name, but he hammered with it and was like, I guess I'll call it a hammer.
Oh my god.
Whereas we named the hammer and we're like, what do we do with it? I guess we hammer because it's a hammer.
What the fuck are you talking about?
And for all you TFT heads out there, the icon for Living Forge, which is his passive, is reused for the Teamfight Tactics item Reforger. You can use it on a champion, and all the items that they have equipped will be reforged into random other items.
Neat.
Ah.
And that's Ornn.
That's Ornn.
That's Ornn.
That's Ornn, folks.
He did very recently.
Get.
He did very recently get a Legends of Runeterra release.
Ooh.
Not a lot to go into from there. It does seem like he got a bunch of additional like support cards, and it does seem like there is a new tribe of Hearthblood that is kind of coming up and starting to kind of rekindle, which is something that we already saw implied in the stories. But they get cards now, so that's cool.
Yeah, they got a lot of equipment.
So that's cool.
It's all the things you'd expect. It's nothing like no crazy new shit. They're just doing Hearthblood shit.
Just making buildings and making blacksmithing stuff and getting fucking wasted.
So that's Ornn.
Architects, blacksmiths, and brewers, baby.
Thank you so much for listening. We have a Twitter. It's at Loreheads. And we have a Twitch, twitch.tv/Loreheads. John streams every Saturday or Sunday. He does TFT every other week, and then a random indie game every other week. I'll be on there one day. We have a YouTube as well. If you could subscribe, that would be super handy. We actually might be able to monetize on there someday. It's like looking like we could hit those numbers, which I didn't think we'd ever be able to on YouTube, but that would help us like immensely. Yeah, we post these there, and John has some parody songs on the YouTube as well. We have a Discord. It's linked in the description of this episode, and it's pinned on our Twitter if you want to come in and have a chat. Let's have
a jolly good chat.
A jolly good chat. Maybe someone will post Ornn Swanson or some Ornn.
Do it.
We have a Patreon as well. We just posted a review of Silent Hill Revelation, which was a lot of fun. We did that for Halloween. Yeah, but thank you so much to all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda and All Chat tier-enabled patrons. Chloe Things, Kindred Enjoyer, King of Hearts, Rel, Shupa Moustache, and Techno Robert. If you were stuck in between a battling Ornn and Volley Bear, I would come get you and rescue you just in time.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm kind of a big deal.
My hero.
And that's what you would sound like as John rescued you from a lightning bear.
You're welcome.
Okay, well,
that's my podcast voice.
She imagine that's what you sound like every time. And join us next week for our 100th episode, and we will be answering your, I'm sure, wonderful questions and just talking about ourselves.
Sounds weird when you say it like that.
Exercise in narcissism, yeah.
Yeah.